Hello, I'm Ronnie Jollis. I'm a paper artist and I am here to give you inspiration and art project ideas that you could do at home. I know many of us are at home right now. For parents, you have your kids at home every day, caretakers, and people who are just home alone and having trouble figuring out what to do all day. I will hopefully inspire you and show you different things you can do that will be fun. First, a few things. First of all, what I'd like you to do, because I'll be doing multiple videos of different projects, I'd like you to begin gathering. And what I mean by gathering is I want you to start to look for various things. We're going to be using paper because as a paper artist, I think in terms of paper, and paper is such a great material. It could be three-dimensional, it could be two-dimensional, it can be different materials, different textures, thicknesses. So paper is what we're looking for. So I'd like you to, if you have construction paper, bring your construction paper out. If you don't have much construction paper, or even if you do, I'd like you to look for magazines that have colorful pages in them. Inserts in newspapers. I have a bunch over here that you could maybe cut up down the road. Maybe a magazine that would have usually advertisements. There's some good yellows in here. Here's some pinks. So you're looking really for colors, for basic colors in these different things you have. Magazines, inserts. Here's just some advertisements that have some good colors in them. Anything you can find. It could even be, dare I say it, an old calendar. I have a calendar that I found, and I was looking through it and thinking, worst comes to worst, I can cut these up. This is a nice, strong material. So anything you can find, I want you to start gathering paper. Also cardboard. If you have any boxes, empty boxes that you can use, wonderful. I'd like you to not only actually have, if you have shoe boxes, to keep those, so we're going to do another project with those shoe boxes, or little boxes, but also big boxes you could maybe cut up, because I'd like you to have some pieces of cardboard maybe about this size. Or if you happen to have Bristol board or mat board, something that's a little bit stronger, a white cardboard, that's also great. So that would be wonderful. Okay, also, just if you have colored pencils, maybe bring those out. Markers, bring those out. Scissors, very, very important. Whatever scissors you have, bring them out. Glue. Glue is important. An Elmer's glue all works great, or a school glue. And I even saw online a recipe for how to make glue if you're unable to get glue or you don't have it. So you'll be able to do these things too. So the basics: glue, scissors, different kinds of paper, different colors of paper, cardboard, different kinds of cardboard. And for later, I'd like you to start to look for bottles or jars, glass, empty glass jars or bottles. This is a bottle that I've started on our next project to show you. And this is just like a carton, okay, like a milk carton that I cut up, cut the top off. So now I have something I can make a really pretty kind of a vase or like a holder. Any kind of bottles or jars that you have, keep them. Start just keeping things and maybe not doing recycling as much as you usually do. So that would be the first step. Oh, egg cartons are good too. You can use them as an organizing thing to put things in, and I'll show you that later. Okay, so gather. Second thing, if you can find a spot that you will make as your art spot, it could be a table, maybe a bridge table you can use. Maybe it's part of your dining room table or your kitchen table. It's always nice to have a place where maybe you don't have to clean up every time. So you could maybe leave the things out, if possible. If you have to clean up, that's okay. Just kind of keep them together. And good lighting is always important. If you can find a lamp maybe that you can keep close by, that would be great. Okay, so we're going to begin with a project that's based on mosaics. It's paper mosaics. I think all of you will know what mosaics are. You've probably seen them. They're one of the most ancient art forms. You'll see them often on the floors or on the walls. In New York City, in the subway stations, you see beautiful mosaics. In the Middle East, you see mosaics all through the mosques and the temples, and just beautiful. Mosaics are one of the oldest art forms. They're at least 4,000 years old. In ancient Rome and ancient Greece, you'll find mosaics. And by using either rocks or stones or tiles or glass, different kinds of colors of stained glass, they would make these mosaics, which were in some kind of, it could have been in plaster or in grout or in concrete or in um, whatever base they were going to put the little pieces in. And I've seen mosaics done in beans, different kinds of like garbanzo beans and lima beans and peas and all these different kind of beans and legumes that you might eat. I've seen mosaics out of those. So mosaics are little pieces of something that are then put together to create a picture, a design. We're using paper as our mosaics. And that's partly because I'm a paper artist and I think in terms of paper. So we're going to be doing mosaics, but rather than using tiles, we're going to be using paper. This is one I've started, and I'll talk about more. So let's talk about what we're going to use first as our base. It's got to be something with some strength to it. So let's say I can't find a white piece of cardboard in my house. If you can find a piece of corrugated cardboard and you can cut it, I just took a piece of like printer paper and glued it on the top. So this will work beautifully. This is just the same thing, only I just glued the white part on top. I think working on white for this is best. So you're going to get a piece of that and you're going to start to get some different colors together. I decided I wanted to do a sunflower. And in doing a sunflower, one of the things I felt I needed to do was have some pictures of sunflowers. That's one more thing I want you to gather. Pictures. Pictures of things that you find interesting. Things that I would like to maybe do a piece of. I started gathering those too. But a sunflower. So I looked for some images of sunflowers. You can even go online and use that as your guide. I wanted to just see what they looked like. And actually, although these are much smaller, I liked the sunflowers that have the dark in the middle. So I'm going to take my piece of cardboard and I'm going to kind of lightly draw my basic plan. Can you see on there? I just have a pretty basic plan of the middle of the sunflower and the petals. Not too hard so far. But now I have to think about color. And I would like you to, number one, do something very simple for your first one, like a flower, like a bird, like nothing with a lot of details, something that's pretty specific. It could be even a vine with leaves on the vine. But try to limit your colors to maybe 2 or 3, okay? So I'm going to be using yellow for the petals, blue for the background, and in the middle I want to do kind of a brownish black kind of thing. So I just am using an egg carton, either part of, or just some kind of a container. And I started getting my yellows together and I started cutting them out. So I'm going to cut a bunch of yellows. This is one yellow. This is something I decided to cut up. So I like this yellow. This has different kinds of yellows. Use more than one shade of whatever it is you're doing. If you're doing a blue sky, like I am, use different, can you see how many different, I'll stand up and show you in a little bit. Lots of different kinds of yellows. Makes it very interesting. I kind of want to move closer. So you can see they're not the same. They're not the same. I hope you can see that. And start to gather them. I have them in a little tray, and I've started cutting them up. If you're working with little, let's say elementary school or even first grade, kindergarten, preschoolers, cut big pieces. These should not be little piece mosaics. So the pieces can be about this big. And maybe use a little bit of a bigger piece. But if they can cut the pieces, wonderful. If for the little ones you need to cut them, fine. I think they can probably cut them. And let's say you just don't have any scissors, you can always tear. Tearing will work. It isn't maybe the perfect thing, but you can use it. And if you really want to be, you really don't have scissors and you want things straight, you can just fold them and just score them like this. Just score them and then rip them. And they'll be straight, okay? So you're going to start cutting out different kinds of yellows. That's where I'm starting. And I'm just going to begin, as I did on this one, I'm going to begin with the yellow petals. So I'm going to take, this is how I do it. I take glue and I put it down, and I have learned the hard way that if you have lots of pencil marks, you might want to erase them before you begin, because I do have some pencil marks I now have to work with. So I'm going to take the glue, put it down, and go like this, sort of spreading it out in that whole petal area, okay? And then I'm going to start taking yellow pieces and putting them in. So just, it's almost like a puzzle. You're trying to fill a puzzle with different kinds of pieces. And sometimes I will have to cut them as I go if I don't have a small enough piece, and I'm just going to start to fit them together. One very important thing about a mosaic, you want to leave space between each of the pieces. Can you see? You can see clearer with the blue that there is a space between every piece. So if you can do that, that would be great. For the little ones, they'll do their best. Remember, art is your interpretation of what it is you're doing. So there isn't really a right or wrong. But for a mosaic, you might try to always leave some space between the different pieces. So I'm going to be gluing these pieces. And let's say I've just finished a petal. I'm now going to maybe look at the background. The key to making something that'll really show is contrast. So yellow is a light color. I'm going to make my background blue, a kind of a deeper blue, different kinds of blues. If I was doing a rose, which is maybe a strong red, I might want a lighter background, maybe a light blue or a light green, or even like a beige or a white. If I'm doing, so whatever it is you're doing, you want to try to have contrast to it, okay? Depending on what is the subject matter that you're doing. So you're going to be gluing. It's going to take you a little while, and it's actually kind of meditative as you're doing this. It's a nice process. And I want you to try to fill the whole piece if you can. If it, sometimes you can make the background a little bit bigger pieces than the actual thing. So if I'm doing the background, I started putting blues over here. This was something I cut out of paper. I will start to just kind of lay them out and create this piece so that when you're all done, hopefully the piece will be covered. Now you can see why I didn't want you to use a big piece. This may even be too big. Maybe half of this would be a good one to start with. And if you finish this, do another one. I have done the same kind of work in paper for the past 20 years, and it just keeps evolving. And I do not at all get sick of it. I love it, and I continue to love to do it. And every time I do it, hopefully I'm improving or learning something each time. So if you enjoy doing this, try to do it at maybe another time. I will be giving you other things we'll be doing. So down the road, we'll be covering jars or milk cartons, things like that. So do start to gather those things. And we'll be doing all kinds of things. So hopefully these are going to be beautiful. And just remember, this is your first time doing it, or even your second or third. You might just want to keep doing them because you're going to get better and better at it as you go. And just start gathering and having fun.